guys, we're about to get started. My name's Caroline Clark. I'm going to introduce our speaker. It's Willie McNabb from, obviously, Celtic Football Club, as many of you know. Willie is a proactive coach and manager within youth football, spanning years, incorporating extensive experience coaching within elite academies and development programs across Scotland. Willie is currently in his 9th season with Celtic FC, where he holds the position of International Soccer Academy Manager for the club, as well as being the coach of the Academy U14s Team and Development Center Manager and coach for Central Scotland. While previously held youth academy coaching positions at Hibernian FC and Heart of Midlothian FC, as well as being a football development officer with the Scottish FA. He currently holds the UEFA A license, Scottish FA Advanced Youth license, and Scottish FA Advanced Children's license, and can deliver Scottish FA coach education courses up to level 1.3. Willie has presented in the last 2 conventions in Philadelphia and Baltimore. Please help me in welcoming our speaker.
Thank you. Thanks. Guys, great to see you coming along today. The fact that it's a smaller group, it'll be intimate. Please feel free to ask questions as you go along. I've got a kind of little microphone here that we can throw it into the audience. So if there's anything that you see, don't wait until the end. Stick your hand up and we can ask some questions. I'm delighted to come here and present about Celtic, the academy, how we're developing young players, how we can structure a weekly training session for our young players as well. So I want to give you an insight into what it looks like for the academy player at Celtic. Probably just to give you a little background on myself as well. On social media, if you have Twitter, that's the Celtic FC coach. We post updates on there, what we're doing internationally in the academy, and also the personal Twitter handle as well. So please feel free to contact that and get some information out as well. Myself, just to give you a little bit of background, I've currently been at Celtic for over 10 seasons now. I'm going into my 10th season. I've been very, very fortunate to work with some very good players over those years as well. And I was speaking to someone the other day. I was watching Celtic against Barcelona, Man City and Borussia Mönchengladbach in the Champions League. And there was actually 3 players on the pitch who I had to be fortunate enough to work with throughout the academy over the last 10 years, and absolutely nothing to do with me, because there's various coaches who've worked with those players and those players have put the hard work in. But to see a player who's come through your academy to then go and play against Lionel Messi, Neymar, Aguero is an unbelievable feeling as a coach, and that's probably taken that 10 years to see that. I currently work with the U15/16s at the club, as well as the development centre, and I have the Scottish FA Youth and Children's licence as well as a UEFA A licence. I think it's really important for any coach to have that coverage of maybe working with a 5-year-old all the way up to working with maybe guys who could play in the first team as well. So I'm very, very fortunate as well. So kind of what to expect over the next hour. It's a brief introduction to the Celtic FC and the academy. Some of you will know about Celtic FC and the values of it, but I want to let you know exactly kind of how the club, what the origins of the club were, what the values of the academy were as well. A little bit about our St Ninians partnership. It's a partnership we have with a local high school and the education that we have. What an under 15's daily schedule looks like. So show you a broad weekly version of it, and then really drill down into the daily version of it as well. How we structure a session. So if you maybe saw the field session that I did yesterday, I'll give you an idea of the rationale behind that and how we've built that session. How we then take that into a match day. So the information that I'll show you is something that we only share with the players. So what a typical match day would look like in the presentation we go through with them. Then I want to give you a player's perspective. We asked one of our players to do a little 2-minute video and say, what does it feel like to be a player at Celtic? So it's kind of raw video. You might not understand the accent because he's got a really thick Scottish accent and speaks really fast. But it'll give you an idea of what a player thinks about the academy as well, and our belief in the process, and then also our international programme as well. So a little bit about the history of Celtic. It was founded in 1888 by Brother Walfrid. Brother Walfrid was a Maris priest from Ireland who'd come over, and it was the East End of Glasgow. And I know there's some Scottish guys in the audience just now. You'll know the East End of Glasgow. It was high level of unemployment, of poverty as well. And basically this was the mantra of the club at the time. a football club will be formed for the maintenance of dinner tables for the children and the unemployed. And it's something that still rings true to the club today. It's very close to the roots, it's very close to us as coaches. When we come into Celtic, we are taught about the values of what the club is and how it's been formed. Hugely successful club as well. I kind of love this picture. It was done recently. It was to commemorate our 100th trophy in our history of the club. So you've got all the trophies from there, the European Cup, the League Cup, the league title, and also the Scottish Cup. And this was the last one that we added just a couple of months ago. So hugely successful club, the first British club ever to win the then European Cup, which was the Champions League. Incidentally, all players in that squad were born within 15 miles of Celtic Park. They were all Scottish guys, apart from one who was from a place down in Ayrshire, which is maybe about 25 miles away. So something that it's never been done and probably will never be done again, with just the way the market is in Scotland and in world football. We're actually the runners-up a few years later as well. We're the Scottish League champions in 47 occasions. We've currently won the league title 5 years in a row. Hopefully secure the 6th league title in a row this year. We've won the Scottish Cup 36 times and also the Scottish League Cup on 16 occasions. Most recently, just a couple of months ago, with a 3-0 victory against Aberdeen in the cup final. So I've got a little short video to show you here. This was done by our TV programme, Celtic TV, and I really liked it because it captured the essence of the club. The youth, the charity, the first team, the history of the club. So again, it's about a minute or so long, just to give you a little flavour of Celtic.
Have one game left.
Welcome to Celtic TV.
Breathtaking doing a charitable work. Somebody said to me that when you become the Celtic manager, Brendan, you're a leader of the men and a leader of the people, and I'm very proud to be here for you guys, so thank you very much.
I just thought it was a good video to show. It was only a couple of minutes long, but hopefully captures the essence of the club and what it's all about as well. Very, very fortunate to have a manager currently in Brendan Rodgers, who's been absolutely wonderful for the club and wonderful for the academy over the last couple of months. This is a quote when we played Manchester City in the Champions League in September, the 3-each game. I was at that game as a fan. I was in the crowd. I almost passed out with the amount of times that I jumped up celebrating goals. And this was the quote that Pep Guardiola, one of the top coaches in the country, Celtic have a shirt when the players wear it. They know every game they have to win. And that's true. No matter if Celtic go and play against Aberdeen in the league or they play Barcelona in the Champions League, we still think as fans that we should win the game, and we can win the game. And it's a very special place. So for someone like that to come, and our young youth players know that as well, that when you wear the Celtic jersey, sometimes it can be a little bit heavy and what it means to be a Celtic player as well. So give you an idea of the academy values. The objective to create a world-class academy. This is our academy at Lennoxtown, a £10 million facility that was opened about 10 years ago. The purpose to create Champions League players. This is young Kieran Tierney, 18 years old, playing against Lionel Messi. And then the philosophy is to develop the player and develop the person, and everything feeds into this. Every player is an individual project. So what we mean by a world-class academy is the best facilities, the best coaches, the best sports science, the best education that we can possibly provide our young players. And from an idea of the purpose to create Champions League players, for us it's not good enough just to create players who can play in Scotland. It's players who can play at the highest level, who can play at the highest club level, who can play at the highest international level. So young Kieran Tierney, who I've known from 6 years old, fast forward 12 years, is playing against Lionel Messi. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It was absolutely fabulous. And then that philosophy is about the on-field and the off-field education of the players. And in this individual project, we call it having a backpack at the academy. So imagine how a young player comes in at 6 years old and they get this little backpack. Every single year, this backpack is filled, both from an educational point of view on the field and off the field as well. So just to give you an idea of what our core values is as we go along this session as well. To give you a brief overview of our academy structure, Chris McCart is the head of the academy. Chris was a former player of Motherwell FC and head of youth at Motherwell. Chris heads up the whole of the academy, and from here we have the medical side of things. Scott Brady, head of SS's sports science. We have the academy sports scientist and the head academy physio, excuse me. And from that, each individual team also has their own physio and their sports scientist who will work with them as well. This is the kind of main part that we'll look at, this sort of coaching part of things. The operations manager, he'll deal with booking facilities, referees, making sure everything's all ship-shape during the week and also on a match day. And the academy scouting section as well. The academy scouts, we have scouts for every single age group across the whole of Scotland, the whole of Britain, Ireland, and also in Europe as well. Our academy is split into 3 sections. Junior academy, which is kind of U5s to U12s. The intermediate academy is where I'm going to focus on, is the U13s to U16s. And the professional academy is the U17s and development squad. And then after that, it goes into the first team. So that's the pathway that the young players will take. So drilling down into the intermediate academy, this is where we're going to focus on the U15s. Martin Miller is the head of the U8s to U16s. For me, Martin Miller is one of the best technical coaches I've ever seen. I've had the privilege to travel all over the world, and for me, I've yet to see a guy better than Martin Miller for developing young players. So this U13s to U16s, all these kids go to school together. So all these kids are in full-time education and full-time football. So the U13s, we have 2 coaches, same at 14s, myself and Greg Robertson at 15s, and Tom McCaffrey at 16s. I'm very fortunate that I sort of split between the 15s and 16s as well. And we have roughly, we have 1 team per squad. So there's no more than 1 team, and it's an elite band of players. So looking at the St Ninians partnership for all those players, this is St Ninians High School here. It's a normal school. It's not a Celtic school. It's a council-run school that has, I think, maybe about 800 or 900 pupils. It just so happens that we have Celtic players in attendance. It's been in play now for about 7-8 years. And young Kieran Tierney, who was playing against Lionel Messi there, I think he was the second batch of players who came through this. So to give you an idea of what it is, it's intermediate academy players only. So it's from that U12, 13 to U17. The reason why I've put U12 back in Scotland, the kids could be playing at U12s but be at secondary school. So it's mainly from the U12s, 13s to 17s. It's high school education. So when the players come in, there's a commitment to them for those years. So we don't release players during that time. So there's a commitment to say, we're committing to your education, but also committing to your football education at the same time as well. So there's a little bit of a safety net for them. There's 72 players who attend the school full time throughout all those age groups. Now the U17s, they're a little bit different. They'll train sort of full time and come into the school maybe 2.5 days per week, whereas the rest of the kids, they're in there full time. It's a normal school with Celtic players in attendance, boys only. We train the players 9 times per week. We're very, very fortunate. We get so much contact time with our players at Celtic, and we also play one Club Academy Scotland match within that. So it equates roughly to 18 hours per week when you take in the training sessions and also the matches as well. And it's the highest within European academies that we know of. No one else is doing this amount of training, and this is a brainchild of Chris McCart, the head of the academy. We've had teams like Manchester City, Liverpool, other teams come to our academy to see our model, to see how it works. The success stories from that: Kieran Tierney made his Champions League debut, won Young Player of the Year in Scotland. Anthony Ralston made his debut at 16. Calvin Miller made his debut at 17 last week. Jamie McCart and young Jack Aitchison made his debut at 16. Came on the pitch and scored a goal with his first touch. Became the youngest ever Celtic goal scorer ever in our history. So again, knowing a kid like Jack, who was 6 years old at the time, to then become the youngest player ever. And it's up to them now to try and break their way into the first team. So our under-15 squad, what it looks like, all of our players are born in 2002, apart from one who was born in 2003. You might have heard of him, Karamoko Dembele. He's a younger player within the squad. So we've got all the kids are birth year within that squad. There's 18 players within our squad. We have not released any players from that squad within the last few years. We've actually added players over the last couple of years. 15 players attend the school full time. The other 3, one of them goes to a private school, so his father was keen for him to keep up his education. One of them attends an SFA school in Glasgow, and another one attends a Scottish FA school in Edinburgh. So they're already getting supplemental training through the national governing body, whereas the rest of our players attend the programme full time. And just kind of interesting for the relative age effect, if you had to look at our current 15s, they're quite small in stature. Certainly one of the smallest in the country. And when we've done the projections for their peak height velocity, they're still about a year, 18 months away. So that's something that we can use and look at and say, this kid's ready to take a little bit of a stretch, starting to fill out. But it's interesting, most of our players are born, well, most of them slightly are born in the first half, but there's 7 of them born in the second half of the year, with 3 of them in June. So usually when you look at squads, you have most of the players are born January, February, March time. So we know that we can look at that. We have a young player who was born in December, so he's almost a year younger than some of the players in that team. So it gives us an idea that we have to maybe take things a little bit slower with him as well in terms of his development. Now, this is what a week looks like to one of our players. I'm going to drill down into this. I know there's a lot of text in there. So basically, morning consists of training and then going to school. Then in the afternoon, continuing their schoolwork, and then another training session in the afternoon. That's the same on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're kind to them. We give them the morning off. They only attend school, no training. But then Thursday and Friday's exactly the same. Saturday, they get the full day off. Absolutely nothing at all. And then on the Sunday, we play in a Club Academy Scotland game. That's games against Rangers, Hearts, Hibs, all the sort of local teams in Scotland. We're fortunate, we don't have the same problem as you guys. We will travel 3.5 hours and we are out of Scotland. We're a very small country geographically, whereas you'll probably travel 3 hours and not even be out your state. So we're very fortunate, so we'll play all over the country, as well as playing international tournaments and things like that as well. So drilling down into a daily schedule, what it looks like. So if you were a U15 player at Celtic, this is what your day looks like. We have a fleet of cars, and all our coaches, U13, 14, 15 and 16, are all full time. So they'll come in the morning, in the cars, go and pick up the kids about 6:30 in the morning, depending on where they are geographically, and then bring them to St Ninians at the high school. They roughly get there about 7 o'clock in the morning. Some of the kids may stay local, so their parents will bring them. And we're looking then to be out on the field at 7:30. So the kids will come in the morning already in their training gear, and they're ready to go. Some of them still sleeping as they shuffle into the school. But then 7:30 on the pitch. They train from about 7:30 till 9. Then they leave the field, go inside to the school. They get changed, they get showered, comb their hair, brush their teeth, and then they get some breakfast. During this time, the normal school's going on. So the kids will then, I say the normal kids, the pupils of the school, they'll start their normal classes at 9:15. Our kids get the chance to miss the first class to allow them to get breakfast. Then 10 a.m. is the school start for our kids. They then do normal school, normal studies for the rest of the day. Then round about 3:40, the cars come again and pick them up and take them to Lennoxtown, which is our training facility. It was about maybe a 10-minute drive from the school. When they get there, they have dinner, they do their homework. They also get some teachers who tutor them through their homework, and we maybe do a little bit of analysis with them, which I'm going to show you later in this presentation as well. Then they're basically on the pitch at 5 p.m, trained to 6:30, and then there's an additional half hour at the end for PIPs, which is Personal Improvement Programme. So each individual player, because they are an individual project, are given something to work on. So I'll stay out on the field and I'll do some work with the players, and the other coach will go into the gym and maybe do some upper body work with them as well. So they have that option. Brendan Rodgers had a fantastic article a couple of weeks ago talking about players who need to take responsibility for their own development, and it's absolutely true, because nowadays people say if a player fails at something, it's your fault, it's the coach's fault, it's someone else's fault. Soccer players don't like taking responsibility for their own personal improvement, so we make that, yeah, it's up to you if you want to do it. Don't get me wrong, it's a long day for some of the kids, so some of them want to get home, but as you can see, it's a huge commitment from the players. It is a huge commitment. But if you want to be a Champions League player, that's what you do. I don't know if anyone ever was a swimmer in here. Swimmers are up at the crack of dawn, putting in the lengths before they go to school or go to work. Might be a poor example, but ballerinas, dancers, they train for hours upon hours per week. So what's different? Obviously, we need to periodise this. It's not 100 mile an hour all the time. It's about making sure that it's either a moderate, a light, or an intense session. So that's like what a day looks like for one of our players. So how do we create a session? So I'm going to look at a Thursday, how we create a session. Greg Robertson, who's the coach, he's full time with the players in the school while I'm working at the stadium. So we can't do off-the-cuff sessions. We can't. The young players at Celtic will question absolutely everything that we are doing, and they will sense that. So it's really important for us that it's planned in advance. We'll have a morning call. So Greg will call me about 9:30. He'll say, boys trained well this morning, such and such was injured. They maybe are not training tonight because they have to study for an exam coming up. So we understand how many players that we have and available players. Then from there, what do we want to achieve from the session? The goals and what the objectives are. We'll then try and link that back to our philosophy, which is going to be the incision zone. So that's the session that I'm going to take you through just now. Once the objectives and goals are set, how do we achieve this through our practice? This is a typical session at Celtic. Warm-up, positional passing, a positional rondo that I did in the pitch yesterday, a game-related practice with the end zones that I'll show you, a conditioned game if we'll get the time, including free play, let them go and play, we'll step back, no coaching, and then obviously the personal improvement programme at the end, if they want that. And then we'll say, what size of area do I need? What do we have to use? We're very fortunate. We get either a full field or a half field at Lennoxtown every single session. So we're very, very fortunate. And make sure that we're set up in time. And we're going to set up the session in a way that allows a smooth transition. We can't really mess about within the session and move cones and move things about as well. So here's what a session looks like. Warm up roughly about 12 minutes. So we'll look at a 12-minute warm up. Yesterday I spent about 24 minutes doing the warm-up, but again, that was just for the purpose of the session yesterday. From that, then we'll get into the positional passing. It has to relate back to the game. So it has to have technical proficiency, but also tactical discipline within what we're trying to do. Roughly, we'll go 18 minutes. That might be 3 minutes. So we'll say, okay, this is a certain pattern we want for 3 minutes. Then when the kids stop, that's when we coach. Coach, rest for a minute, back in for another 3 or 4 minutes, using a different pattern. If something arises within it that we have to stop it, we will, but we want the intensity. So we go for 3 or 4 minutes and let them go, and then we start to put the coaching points in and progress every time. Then we go into a positional rondo, which roughly takes about 20 minutes. Again, probably 4-minute bursts. 4 minutes with a minute rest in between. That gives us the 20 minutes. So a 9 versus 5 positional rondo, how we can create overloads and transitions and the incisions within there as well, and then take that into a phase of play or a multi-goal practice. Something that we do usually do is I'll take the defenders, Greg will take the attackers, then we'll bring them together and do a phase of play. I tell you what, it's ultra competitive, really competitive, and just waves of attack against the defenders and how we defend against that. And then what we would try and do is take that into some sort of condition game, 7v7, 8v8, etc. And then obviously at the end of that, the kids would have their chance to do their personal improvement programme. So again, looking at creating the session, this is the incision zone. I did a little bit of research from the Champions League last season on some stats. I read the UEFA technical report. So basically, what is the incision zone? For us, there's the incision zone there. That's relative to on the pitch as well. We have 4 different zones. If you can imagine where the big Celtic crest is just now, at the left-hand side, imagine a line going there. So we have a zone there, a zone in the middle, the incision zone, and then the last finishing zone. So this is the key area. It's about 40 yards from goal, but it's the act or process of cutting into something. When we say to a kid at the academy, it's the incision zone, don't really know what incision is. So that's a dictionary definition of it. How can we cut into something and how can we cut something open? It's 40 yards out from goal, so it's about just outside the D of the penalty box, another 20 yards. So it's a sort of 20-yard zone that we look at for looking to go and penetrate. Unlocking the door. So when you play against a low block and the opposition are really difficult to break down, how can we play through it? And ultimately, we want a wee bit of quality in there as well. The key thing when we take it into our training session is the change of tempo. How can we get a change of tempo? How can we put the fear into the opponent? And how can we make it chaotic? I don't know if you were at my session yesterday, but I see too many kids in the wide area who'll just run in straight lines, or they'll come short for the ball all the time. If I'm playing against that as a fullback, I'm delighted. I'm just going in here, I'm just dropping back, we're keeping our lines. But all of a sudden, when you've got a player who's going to run in there, who goes with him? So okay, I'll need to drop back a little bit. Creates a little bit of confusion. The opposition centre-back steps up. We've now managed to break them and create space for other people. So that's what we're trying to say to the kids. Just run, make movements, look to try and incise as much as we can. So the stats to kind of back this up. So the incision zone from the Champions League. I'm going to sound like a right geek here. There was 347 goals scored in the Champions League. From here, there was 63 goals scored from crosses. So is this area here, you'll see this little kind of green dot move here. Getting in that area there before delivering. Now, gone are the days where you're seeing crosses from here, or crosses from here, or here, even from here. It's in this area here. We're managing to release wide players or release fullbacks to get crosses. Then from there, how many cutbacks? There was 29 goals scored from cutbacks. So roughly in that area again, getting towards the byline and cutting the ball back, either one-touch finishes or a ricochet and getting onto it. From there was 49 goals scored from a forward pass, an incision pass. That's an either through ball or over the press. Brendan Rodgers has spoke a lot about that, about if you're trying to build the play and the opposition are pressing you really high up the pitch, why would you try and put yourself under pressure? Play over the press and get an incision run. And then that'll allow us to then go and attack them. Then the opposition have got a little bit of a problem. So if they then start to drop off, then we can go and play. But again, that's up to the players to make that decision. So that's that through ball, either over the press, potentially, and I'll show you a little video clip of our players getting into these areas and the opportunity to go and score. And then finally, there was 24 goals scored from a dribble and close range shot or a dribble pass. So getting through that incision zone. Best guy in the world at doing it, Lionel Messi, just running at people, picking the ball up. And we've got a couple of good clips of our number 10s, Aaron Hickey and Karamoko, picking the ball up and just running at people. And look at how many people they draw to the ball, and ultimately they manage to get a foul. The other goals that were scored for any of the statisticians in here, there was 81 goals scored from set plays, 4 OGs, 61 combinations, 25 long-range shots, and 11 defensive errors. I sound like a right geek. Apologies for that. But most of the goals are coming from this incision zone, about having that opportunity to penetrate through there. And again, this was taken from the technical report that the route to goals becoming a little bit quicker. Kind of almost gone, or the trend just now in modern football or modern soccer is that the patient build-up is not quite there anymore, apart from obviously Barcelona. So you're seeing now it's taking less than 4 passes to get forward and create a goal. So you look at these 3 bits here, where the ball's been won back, 138 times in midfield and 149 times in the attacking third. So there's the incision zone from there to there, just in that little gap. So it could be defensive errors, it could be just that little bit of quality, and it's become important, that final third, rather than the patient build-up play as well. So that's to give you a bit of an idea of why we do the incision zone. So this is the incision zone session that we use back at Celtic. I have some video clips of the players doing these exercises. It was just taken on a cell phone, so it's raw, grainy footage, but I think it's good. It's not glossy and all slick. You'll see loads of mistakes within it as well, which I kind of like. So the warm-up passing, similar to what I did yesterday if you weren't there, it was basically a 40 by 32 yard area. So from this little cone here to there was 20 yards. So 20, 20 with mannequins in the middle. With the players back at Celtic, we make that even smaller. It might even be 16 yards or 15 yards. And basically we start with the players in twos. So ball in 2, and I'm looking at things, the incision by. 3 things that I'm looking for is the run, the pass, the dribble. That's all I'm looking for in the warm-up. And bearing in mind we only spend 12, 14 minutes on this. So the opportunity for a player to run offside, but then that player recognising it, penetrating by a dribble. Can we have the opportunity for a through ball? So maybe a straight pass and a diagonal run. And then we also have the option of a player running offside, back on again for a recycled run. What really bugs me just now is when players run offside, we're encouraging them to do that, is run, and then they throw their arms up in the air because they don't get the ball. You have to switch on. Has to be there, back on again, and back in. I said it yesterday, the best player live that I've saw was Luis Suarez. He runs, he's an absolute pest of a man. Pest, runs back on side, back in there. So we're encouraging our kids to do that, and then that one over the press. So it doesn't always have to be the fancy little pass between mannequins. See if the opposition are pressing us, and we see the opportunity to clip it over, we can. Sometimes we might not do passing in 2s, we might just go straight on to passing in 3s. And the reason why we do this, it gives us that extra pass for the players to see. So now they're working in 3s, the 3 greens, yellows and whites. Option 1, incision, is up, through, player recognising it, dribble. So you can now see the pattern in 3s. The second one, we call it the up, back, through ball for the diagonal run. And then the last one's the recycled run. Offside, play an extra pass, get onside, and get back in again. And that's the 3 things that we're looking at. We probably did this session for the first time about 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. But now we've managed to layer this. So we're kind of maybe shortcutting some of this stuff. And the last thing I would get into is teams. So 2 teams now. In here I only have them with 2 soccer balls, but we maybe have them with 3, 4, or possibly even 5, depending on the numbers. So this might look a little bit chaotic just now. So we've got passes, and then we've got the over the press one. So the one here when the ball's coming from this player here out to that player, it's a switch of play, but it's over the press. And also we have the option of the through ball. Third option would be the dribble. So a player dropping into that little number 10 role. So this is how we can link it back to a game. The little white dot in the middle between the 2 mannequins, that could be your number 10, and we'll show examples of this in a match. We would just check their shoulder, take it and play. Back at the academy, I don't say to the players, you must be in a half-open position. You must stand here, you must take it. Because we've got players who'll just take the ball like this and turn. We've also just got players who'll take it through their legs and flick it and play. So we leave that that decision up to the players. If they feel comfortable with their back to play, absolutely, and then they can go through, and it's an opportunity to dribble. I've got a little video here to show you. Again, it's kind of grainy footage, but we'll give you an idea of kind of some of the stuff. So this is a little passing exercise that we did at Lennoxtown a couple of weeks ago. So that's the players just passing in 2s and 3s, running between the mannequins. apologies about my dulcet tones in the background, but the things I'm saying to them is run offside, come back onside. I was saying consolidate, that's the zone before the incision zone, consolidation. So the players always want to please you. So if you say I want incision, they run all the time. And you're saying, right, that's fine, we've now got that. How can we start to strip it back? So saying to them, keep possession, wait until the time's right, and then we get the incision run, and asking them to change tempo as much as possible. So that's a warm-up, that's the extended version of it. We'd maybe spend 4 or 5 minutes on each one. So maybe 4 or 5 minutes on 2s, 3s, and then working as a team as well. So taking it into positional passing. This is actually the passing exercise that I did last year at the convention in Baltimore. Using the same setup as we had before, I've just put 2 little cones at the bottom and the top, and 2 different ways to do it. So imagine this going at the same time, okay? But I'm only going to show it down one side. So the ball's played, the player steps forward, then the player comes in off the side, makes the incision run. So I'll give the option of the player running in between the mannequins or running in behind the mannequins. So show that again, ball coming from the top, step on, player comes in off the side, incision run, through pass. Another option would be the player coming in and starting in there. So that's what I'm saying to the players, don't stand up against fullbacks at times. So come into that little gap in between fullback and centre back. I'll show you a brilliant example of our first team doing this against Rangers. Apologies, Colin, wherever you are, and showing you this. Brilliant at doing it, and then the opportunity to take it and then turn and dribble through. And then basically the players just rotate. Greens go down their side, whites go down their side. Then we layer it a little bit. We ask them to involve a switch of play within it. I didn't do this at the convention last year because it can be a little bit complicated, and when you don't know the players, it can be really difficult to do. So ball comes down, player triggers it wide, they play a bounce pass with the wide players, the bottom midfield player receives it back. And how can we relate this back to a game? For me, the 2 players there are your controllers, 6 and 8. You've got your 7 and 11 in the wide areas, and your guy through the middle can drop deep to become your 10 and 9. So that's how we link that back to a game. So this little green one, can we get the switch of play for the same run? So if I'm on the opposite side, we tell our young players when the play builds up there, don't watch the game, read the game. See it starting to creep in and make that run in the opposite side. This one here's the option of dropping in the hole and then take it in the turn and starting to dribble. So that's how we can take it from a warm-up into a passing exercise. Then we take it into a rondo. Same setup as well. We don't need to move any cones or mannequins or nothing. Might sound a wee bit lazy, but it's perfect. It's a perfect session as a coach. And all we've done now is put neutral players in the wide areas. So we've got a deep yellow, wide, and a striker up the top. I'm showing that as a 5v5, but that could be a 6v6, 7v7. If you have an extra player, put another neutral player in the middle. So basically, it's the same size, and we play like a normal game. So we play, use the guys on the outside, build up the play. So there's that up, back, can we recognise it, through ball and size and run, play up to the striker, and then we all go across. So the 3 things, incision, decision, transition. That's the 3 words that I said to the players yesterday as well. So I'll show you that again, just build up, looking at this player on the opposite side. It's like the little passing drill that we just done, up, back, through. Can we get the incision run, forward pass, then we play, and we transition across. We're manic on that at Celtic. There's too many players who pass the ball and go, what a pass. Look at that. Oh, I need to do something else. So we're looking to try and squeeze a game and squeeze the lines between that as well. But it's amazing. If you saw the session yesterday, or you maybe use this with your players, see the 2 wide yellow players, they'll just run up in straight lines. The reason why they won't come in and run in is because you don't tell them to. I did that with the U15s last week. The players just stand in there. I says, why aren't you running in, making runs, incision runs? Well, you never told me to. Be creative, son. Do something different. So we could ask those players to make those runs as well. So that's a little idea of that. I've got a little clip, again, of the players doing this in training. There's a really good example here. So they play up, they all transition across, It goes back out again. So they transition across, keep possession of the ball. Drops in, half turn, dribble through. Now, from here, I want you to try and watch what's going on up here near the mannequins. I know it's a little bit grainy, but you can see the young kid on the outside. He's looking at me and talking to me. He's asking me, can I run inside? Of course you can. So watch up here and watch how many runs that we get. Count them. How many incision runs that we get off the ball for the player in possession. So there's 1, he doesn't quite get it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Over the press, and we play across. So we managed to get 5 incision runs there. You seen the first kid making the run? He's a big centre back. He gets a nosebleed when he gets up there. But he kind of turned, and as soon as he turned, bang, bang, bang. There was 4 other runs, and we still have comfortable balance behind the ball. So then we would take that into an incision game-related practice. All we've done now is take the middle mannequins and move them back a little bit. So we now have a main playing area, roughly about maybe 40 by 32. So that's the main area. These end zones, so we've got the mannequins. Yesterday, because of the size of the zone that I only had 10 yards either side, and I had to put 3 little pug goals, because it's unrealistic if you're moving into a zone and shooting on a big goal. But this is how we would normally do it back at the club. These zones at the end would be 20 yards, and the reason why they're 20 yards, it replicates the finishing zone. So from here to here, 20 yards, finishing zone, same on the other side. Then we have that opportunity to incise and get in. So again, we play. This player gets the ball, he makes a run, there's the incision. Should he pass him the ball? Absolutely not, because he's offside. Now this player on the ball has a decision. So their decision, they're left with it, they're in control with the game. Can we get a third person running through, and can they go and finish? If they get forced wide, we'll allow another player to come through from the middle. So if this player had maybe come into this zone here, we'd allow a player to come for a cutback. And we'll show you the example of that happening as well. So again, players looking at it training. So there we got a couple of runs. Counter-attack. Through. Run. Decent finish. Ball behind the mannequin. Quick counter-attack. Stop it there. This little kid does something reasonably well. Ball bounces up, he's off balance, and all he does is lifts it up over the press. You see the player just about to run in the green on the opposite side. He comes through, he gets pushed just a little bit too wide, and let's see what happens from other players. So ball over the press, he's pushed wide, decent ball across, finish. Another ball and we play. So this is a consolidation zone. So the information to the players just now is keep possession. Keep possession, move the ball. Relax. Can we get runs off the ball? This little kid here nearest to it, he gives us a run. We get 2 runs there. Yep, it's not on, good decision. We keep possession of the ball. And eventually the ball knocks out a play. But again, we're fine with that. It's up to the kids, the player in possession. They have the decision. They need to recognise that. And then we would take that into a personal improvement programme at the end. See, on that quick session that we would do on that, is there any questions or anything you would like to know about it? Or
just roughly how many kids were on that session?
I had 16. Yep. Do you know what? Wait a minute. I've always wanted to do this. No, wait a minute. I've always wanted to do this. Good catch.
Good catch. Oh my God. Okay. It is too much. I think we had a brief chat yesterday. I'm 18 from Norway, but currently studying in England. A licensed coach, but I was wondering, since I'm from Norway, of course, you guys had Dela for 2 years.
Yep.
Obviously a lot has changed with Rodgers now, but how much, the incision zone, that's his works, something that he believes in, and in comparison to Dela, has much actually changed?
It was a good question. It was we had a previous manager, Ronnie Dyler from Norway, who had a wonderful philosophy, very similar He just called it something different. He wanted, I would imagine there was 3 zones on the pitch going across the way. He wanted players playing in 2 zones as much as possible. Whereas Brendan Rodgers has come in, that's something that he's called the incision zone. I quite like it because it's snappy, it's quick, the players kind of relate to it as well. Ronnie had a wonderful philosophy, and Brendan Rodgers has just come in with a slightly different spin. But it was something that the gaffer put in as the incision zone.
Thank you.
Was there anyone else to ask anything? Go throw it across.
You know what? You got a mic?
Oh yes.
You said you had 18 players in your player pool.
Yes.
No bigger or like?
No, in that we only have 1 goalkeeper, 17 outfield players. So when it comes to a match day, it's very difficult when you have maybe 6 substitutes to make. So what we've now done is one of our players, Dylan Forrest, has been moved up to the U16s and 17s, which is great. And obviously little Karamoko's moved up as well. So we've tried to progress as many of our players as we can to make our pool shorter, to give us more game time as well.
So then, is there players that float up and down that need that need a different diet per se, like a younger player playing up, or?
Yeah, so we would get some of the U14s.
Yes. To
come up and play with us. It's not a lot because of the size of our squad that we have just now.
Okay.
But if we maybe have injuries or illness, and so all of a sudden there's 3 players out and your squad becomes really small, we'll move some of the U14s up, you move some of the U15s up, and so on and so on. So if the players are performing well and deserve it, then we'll move them up, absolutely. We've actually moved up a full team before and played against older age groups in Scotland.
And is there any standards of how many games or starts that your academy players have to play?
No, they have to deserve to play.
Right.
So if they're during the 9 training sessions per week, if they're not putting the hard work in or they're not showing the quality, then they won't get the game time.
Right.
Yep.
You said that you have a huge scouting system.
Yep.
So when you're bringing in a player at 12, 14, 16, or 3, 4, I don't know, what happens to the squad? So as you're going on, you've got your squad of 16 players, 18 players, and you find 2 gems in Belgium.
Yep.
They're coming in. What happens?
Any international players, they have to be over 16, so they'll come into the full time. But if the scouts recognise a player younger and they come in, so to give you an idea, I'll reverse it a little bit. Before the kids go to the school at U12s, say they have a squad of 18, not every player is guaranteed to go to the school, because we might look at that squad and say there's 5 or 6 who we're not quite sure on, so maybe only 12 go to the school. So it gives you a little bit of room to try and play with. We have 18, but see if we find one of the best players in the country, we bring him in.
Sure.
And then what we'll do is move a couple up to under 16s to try and make as many as we can.
So you don't want more than 2 teams. You don't want more than 1.
No, just one team that we have at those age groups. Just to do with kind of player registrations and what we do as well. A lot of clubs have shadow squads at certain age groups. We definitely only have 1 squad, but where there's maybe players out there we're targeting to then bring in. Yep.
How involved is the club in making sure that the kids keep the grades up at school?
Massive. We speak with the teachers on a daily basis. So if there's any kid whose grades have dropped, who's not done their homework, they don't play. We take them out of training. It happened about 3 weeks ago. 1 kid dropped his grades a little bit, wasn't doing his homework. They've actually got ample time to do homework, so there's no excuse for not doing it. So the teacher would come and say to us, that player's been referred for not doing his homework. We speak to the player, speak to the parent, and we tell him that he's not training and not playing until that's rectified. And usually it's rectified very quickly when you're telling them that they can't have the opportunity to train and play. We have to, because their education is the most important thing. That's paramount.
Well, how do you 7-year-olds, who picks them?
Well, we're starting to go to maternity hospitals now and just shout push. The younger kids, there's a scout network who'll go and watch grassroots clubs, and then they'll identify the maybe kids at 6 and 7, and they'll come into our development centres. So we have 4 development centres across the country. We have 2 in Glasgow, 1 in Ayrshire and 1 in central Scotland. I look after that one. And they come in and we work with the club's players. Now they're still with their grassroots club. They just have a training opportunity with Celtic. And then from there, we can't officially sign the players until U11. So we give them the training opportunity. And then when they become U11, we can say, would you like to sign for Celtic? But keeping that relationship with the grassroots club strong. It's not stealing players, it's not trying to nick players off them, it's about trying to stay strong with them. Can I just move on? After the session, self-evaluation. So even the session that I did yesterday, I came off the pitch and said, what was my manner like? Was I engaging? Was I approachable? Did the players understand it? They probably didn't, because I'm a crazy Scottish guy and they've got no idea what I'm saying. What would I change? What would I keep? And then the player evaluation as well. Ask the players what did they like. And for me, this isn't a sign of weakness. The very, very first time I did the incision rondo, it was too big. And I asked the players, what would you change? They said, we'd like the area to be smaller because the transition was too hard to do. So the next time we did it, we moved it in, and then we get buy-in from the players. So you need to be ready to take honest feedback. And if you ask your players, they'll probably say to you, oh, it was good. That for me is not feedback. What did you really think about the session? What about the size? How many players? Coaching points? Do you like me shouting at you? Do you like me standing back? And it's a good way for us to develop as coaches as well. So match day. So that was a Thursday session. We now go into a match day. This is a Sunday. So we bring the kids into Lennoxtown when we're at home. It's not quite as big as this, but a classroom setting, and we do a PowerPoint to the players. So the first thing we do is we put the starting 11 up. So there's our starting 11 there. So we have the 4-2-3-1 set up. This was against Motherwell in September, so this was an actual presentation that we did. I have scaled this down. It's a lot bigger because there's obviously some things that we're not going to share at this moment. So we look at options. Here's the option 1. So this is something that we've worked on in incision, how we work on. So when we defend, 4-2-3-1. When we attack, 3-box-3. So we ask number 10 to move away from the ball. So Dembele moves away, that's the trigger for Monty to come in. Box midfield, 6, 8, 10, 11. Trigger, 0-2, wide, Moffat, wide, 2, 4 and 5, swing round. Then we have balance behind the ball, and we have incision going forward. The balance behind the ball is key for us. So we've got these 5 here. Our fullback is very, very good at going forward. The other option that we had was fullback coming in and wide players staying out. And I'll show you an example of that as well. So that's something we'd show the players. We then go into a little match example. So we played Aberdeen a couple of weeks before, and this is an example of how we got the box midfield with a fullback coming in. So our number 3, number 6, and number 8, and number 10. Number and superiority, or superiority in numbers. That's what we're looking to try and do. Dominate that middle of the pitch as much as we can. So that was an option of us doing it a couple of weeks before. Then we gave the example of the first team do it against Rangers, the first game at Celtic Park. I need to say it, we won 5-1 that day. It was a great day in my life. And this was Scott Sinclair coming in. So the number 11 is coming right off the side. We have our 2 controllers, Scott Brown and Nir Beaton. We have Tom Rogic, who's the number 10, and Kieran Tierney, the number 3. This is Eric Sviachenko, who's just about to get the ball. Just behind him is Kolo Toure and Mikkel Lustig. So that's our balance behind the ball. And just look at the confusion it's causing in Rangers just now. This is Joey Barton trying to get close to number 11. He tried to get close to number 11 all day. Kenny Miller, who was there, they played 4-3-3, who was the right-sided striker, is having to almost play like a right back. The guy with the yellow boots is the right back. He doesn't know whether to come in or stay. And Philip Senderos, you can see the confusion that it's causing. So we're dominating 4 versus 3. So Rangers played 4-3-3, we played 4-2-3-1. So rather than being equal numbers, box midfield. So we can go and dominate. So we show our young players an example of that. Then we look at an attacking set play. That's just an example of one of them. An attacking corner. The people staying behind the ball, the people going to attack it. We've got loads more than that, but a defensive set play, a wide free kick, how the wall. So we say jump up and jump forwards. Wide player deal with the ball down the side, and then drop on the kicker's last step. So we hold, as soon as he steps to kick, then we drop off. And that's just some last things that we send a message out to the players. Break lines, quality, hide the ball from them. One ball, our ball, win it back. Both from an attack and have a defensive point of view. And that's a match. So the players then go out, hopefully perform everything that we've worked on in the week. Then after the game, we have a evaluation process. It's not done on the same day of the game because emotions are high. So you might have played a game, you might have been wonderful and won 10-0, but the performance wasn't great. You may have lost the game. So you as a coach might be a little bit emotional, and so are the players. So 24 hours later, they come in and they evaluate their own individual process or performance. We have 20 KPIs that the players mark themselves. Then the coach goes in and does exactly the same. We mark every single player across the 20 KPIs, and we want to try and get a close correlation. If a player's marked himself at 95 out of 100 and we've marked him at 60, then there's a wee issue. So that player must think he's Ronaldo. So we sit down with him. Why have you marked yourself so high? Likewise, if a player's marking themselves really low, they've maybe got a self-esteem problem or they've got a little bit of a confidence problem as well. So that's something then we can sit down with the players and chat about. So then, this is the Celtic Performance Centre. They go into this. This is kind of our black box. They go in. Each player has a login. They can watch the game. So the game is videoed. They can watch the game. And they also have their own individual tagging. So Willie McNabb can click in and see all the things that I've done. And then what we would do, probably on the Tuesday after the game, is then do some analysis. So we played Hearts and Rangers. I watched the game, clipped the game, put some music over it based on the incision zone. So I want you to watch this. Watch for our runs off the ball, penetrating dribbles, penetrating passes, and also wide player movement to allow fullbacks to go up. So this is what we would show the players probably on the Tuesday after the game. Sorry, I might stop it every again. The music's magic, isn't it? Thought I was back in Glasgow for a minute there. You can see I know it's a little bit blurry there, but we've got our little right-sided midfield player is now in as a striker. It's unlocked the fullback, and this is our central midfield player. He makes a brilliant incision run. The fullback just steps on and opens his foot. Any clip that you see of the Hearts game, watch the fullback, the blonde-headed lad, and watch the number 10 and watch the wide player, because some of the movement's excellent. So forward run and behind. Crossing zone. So cut back. This is a fabulous run. So this is against Rangers, little Karamoko picking the ball up. So examples of dribbling now, how we can commit people, drawing fouls. So little number 10 checks his shoulders 2-3 times, willing to take people on, foul. He should pass there. It's a poor decision. An example of some goals from these games as well. So first one comes from over the press. So control, run, lift it over. Through pass. Watch a little kid in the middle, incision run, doesn't get it, back out, full back in behind. So the last goal there from the kid, he's made a run from left side of midfield, across onto his right foot. He was the kid who made the run in the Hearts game, but unfortunately missed on his right foot. So we would show the kids that, analyse that as well, and show them and ask them any questions from that game as well. And we need to remember that for our players, it's progression, not perfection. They're only young kids. They're not going to get everything perfect, so it's about progression for them. So this is Michael Sparks. Michael's our number 9, quite an outgoing lad. His acting skills are absolutely horrific, so I apologise for that beforehand. But again, it's a raw video. So this is Michael, and it will show you a day in his life. The first clip is quite low, so you need to really listen. It's about 7:30 in the morning. I think he's still sleeping. So that was him on the pitch in the morning and out off the pitch in school. So we now go to school, do their classwork. After this, we transport them to Lennoxtown. Now we transport them to Lennoxtown, time for their dinner and homework. Terrible acting. So this is Lennoxtown. This is a kind of canteen area where the players go in, have their dinner, do a little bit of homework. They're not usually as quiet as that either. So then they go from there, then they get into the classroom, and we do a little bit of analysis. He needs to work on that a little bit, doesn't he? So we then take the kids into the meeting room. We have a software where we can upload all of our games. So we get all the kids round, we watch it, we show them clips individually. This is when we show them the analysis of the incision zone. So we can go over it, we can pause it, we can rewind it, we can actually say to the kids, what do you think about there, what do you think about in this situation? So when they've actually evaluated themselves on the Monday, we show them this on the Tuesday, so they can try and see a little bit of a correlation. So they actually might have thought, you know what, I played better than I actually thought, or I played maybe worse than I actually thought. So after they've done their analysis, their homework and their dinner, they're back onto the field at Lennoxtown. That's me with the boys there. We'll do another hour and a half training session. So it's a long day for the kids, and I kind of just wanted to give you a player's perspective from that as well. So our belief in the process at the Youth Academy, 48 Academy players have made their first team debut since 2000, 2001, so 3 per season. 18 Academy players have made their Champions League debut at the very highest level, and 167 Academy players have progressed to senior football. So almost 11 players per season are making a living out of the game coming from Celtic's Academy. So if they don't quite make the grade at our Academy, they are having a living within the game, either in Scotland or elsewhere. This is I know it's quite hard to see, Celtic are just round about here, about developing talented players at the highest level. So there's some fantastic teams we're above there. Arsenal, PSV, Bayern, Standard Liège. Obviously you have Ajax and Barcelona near the top, so we're doing well at producing young talent. So again, what we're trying to do in North America with some of the stuff that we're doing from the Academy, we have got about 60 partners in 22 different countries. We're currently working with one state association and 23 partner clubs in the US. Great to see some of the guys in here as well. We've got one of the largest programs in the world, and it's different types of partnerships for player and coach development as well. And that gives you an idea of where we are. We're in quite a lot of places in the US, especially the northeast of the country. We're looking to try and grow what we're doing within the Academy. And what we do is we're trying to identify some players from North America to come to our elite program. We did one at IMG where we've selected 4 players to come to Glasgow and train with our Academy. So I just want to show you a quick clip of what we're doing in the US or North America. So this is all of our partner club players.
I'm Jonathan McFarlane, Celtic Football Club, and welcome to our international programme here at the IMG Academy in Florida.
This has been a brainchild of Celtic Football Club for many years now. We're absolutely delighted to host our first ever elite player programme for North American partner clubs of Celtic Football Club.
IMG is definitely a great experience for me in my soccer life. I was just honored to be invited down here.
The camp as a whole has been tremendous. The quality has been very, very good, and we're excited to continue the programme here in North America.
So that was to give you a little bit of an idea of some of the things that we're trying to do within North America as well. And we also have our own coaches convention back at Celtic. It's happening from the 9th to 11th of March. You get an in-depth look at our academy, how we're developing young players. Hopefully an opportunity with a question and answer session with Brendan Rodgers, and also match tickets to the Celtic versus Rangers game, one of the greatest derbies in world football. So that's something that we're hosting. We've now hosted for the last 6 or 7 years. And this is something else that we're developing as well. We're just about to have an online curriculum. This is only available to our partner clubs. So it's some of the exercises from the academy, both in video format and also in that format as well. So if you're a club that's in the US or in Canada who's maybe interested in this, please come and speak to me. This is all the benefits that we have from that. There's my email. There's the 2 Twitter from earlier on. I'll give you my cards if you would like them as well. And I just want to finish with a couple of famous quotes. Tommy Burns, what these players have to realise is that when you put on a Celtic jersey, you're not playing for a football team, you're playing for a community and a cause. Tommy Burns, one of the greatest players ever for Celtic, former manager, former coach, unfortunately passed away a few years back from cancer. Wonderful man, one of the best guys I've ever met. And probably my favourite quote from Jock Stein about Celtic jerseys are not for second best. This is in the tunnel at Celtic Park to remind everyone. And just to send you on your way, guys, is just a little bit about the history, the successful times that we've had on the pitch. Guys, I just want to thank you for your time, for coming along. It's been a pleasure for me to give you an insight into a club that I work for, a club that I support, and hopefully you've taken something away from this as well. So thank you very much for your time. No, no worries at all. No problem.